Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Tava Hoppy. I am an assistant vice president at Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. I'm excited to get to tell you guys all about our ARPA funding opportunity. Please select at the bottom of your screen which language you wish to listen to for this webinar. Please be patient with the presentation as we'll be pausing for our translator to relay our message in Spanish. Please place your questions in the chat and we will answer them at the end. The slideshow will be available on the C4K website and the recording will also be uploaded to the C4K website for rewatching. Thanks for joining and we'll begin shortly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katrina Hurley, and I'm also an assistant VP for the C4K team. I would like to welcome you guys to our webinar, the Nebraska Children and Families Foundation's Communities for Kids Initiative, through its proud partnership with the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and the American Rescue Plan Act, is excited to announce the second round of funding to the communities and childcare professionals across Nebraska that will assist in expanding capacity of high-quality early learning programs. Today, we are going to go over the highlights of the project, including an overview, timeline, allowable expenditures, and how to apply.
This is the official statement that includes the legislative bill number, the name, and the number of the congressional act. You will see this statement on everything we put out about the funding. And if you're chosen to be a contractor for these funds, it will also be on all of your materials as well.
This project is solely focused on increased childcare capacity, especially in areas of high need. To be eligible for funding, providers must be starting a new program or expanding their current one to serve more children. Please only apply if you plan to meet this criteria. Applicants can be a community, individual childcare program, or business seeking to incorporate childcare. Applicants can be required to show that they can increase full day, full year licensed childcare capacity for the 0 to 5 population. These funds can either go to a community working with many childcare programs or individual childcare programs.
This project is on an accelerated timeline, which means there will be a very limited time to spend a large amount of funds. We need your proposals by March 24th. Contract announcements will be made May 15th, and the contract period is July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. All of the funding must be spent in the contract period. There will be no carryover of funds past that date. It is important to note that any program that participates must be open, operating, and accepting children no later than June 30th of 2024. Technical assistance to support your project will be provided by Communities for Kids staff.
We will contract with a minimum of 9 and a maximum of 12 entities based on the funding amount in this chart. For example, if a single child care provider applied and would be able to increase their license capacity between 51 and 75 children, they would be eligible for a $300,000 contract. If one community applied with plans to open 3 family childcare home ones serving 8 to 10 children, they'd be eligible for a $150,000 contract because they'd be serving 3 providers at that $50,000 threshold. Applicants are welcome to mix and match different types of providers in their applications.
To apply, you will be asked to complete a request for proposal, which will be available on our website. The request for proposal will need to include the summary form, a written proposal outlining your project, and a completed budget for the funds request form. All documents will need to be emailed to Nebraska Children Communities for Kids by March 24th at 5 p.m. Central Time. As mentioned earlier, C4K will make all required forms available on our website. All of these documents are required for your proposal to be considered for selection. Family home programs must include a pre-inspection report to verify that the renovations being requested are needed to be licensed or increase capacity. The email to send all of your completed forms to is c4kinfo@nebraskachildren.org.
To have a complete application, you must turn in the proposal summary form as shown here. This form allows the reviewers to see a brief summary of your program before they read your 4-page proposal. We ask that you put whether you're an individual or an organization applying, what geographic area your program will be serving, and how many projects total you will be completing. Then we ask that you identify whether your program is a new and not yet licensed program or a program
Patricia,
that
si
has...
quieres tú sígueme leyendo lo que ves a tu ritmo, está bien. Gracias.
We then ask you to identify whether your program is a new or
Sí,
not
tú
yet licensed.
sigue y léeme todo lo que tienes ahí y está bien.
There's a location for you to identify who will be the program's fiscal sponsor and who to contact if the funding is being offered for your program. Lastly, you need to show what funds you're requesting from ARPA and how much the total overall cost of the expansion project. This form will need to be completed in its entirety and submitted with the rest of your proposal.
Once a request for proposals and documents are submitted by the listed deadline, proposals will be reviewed by a team of internal Nebraska Children staff and other external partners. They will be looking to fund projects that will range across the state and will be equal and equitable for both in-homes and centers. Once this review is complete, Nebraska DHHS will make the final selections for contract awards. 9 to 12 proposals will be selected for contracts, and we plan to announce the recipients on May 15th, 2023 via email.
There will be a limited list of allowable expenses due to the funding source, which includes but are not limited to construction and renovation costs, including materials and labor, classroom equipment, materials and curriculum, staff wages, payroll taxes and benefits, workforce recruitment and hiring activities, marketing and advertising, and staff training fees. Wages can only be spent on eligible employees who have passed the child care criminal history check. Programs will be asked to show that their employees have passed the required checks in order to be reimbursed for their wages.
Porque aquí lo van a oír todo ellos.
Sí, pero debo de ir yo.
For non-allowable expenses, expenses that are not directly tied to increased capacity will not be allowed. Here are some examples of some non-allowable expenses. Food, disposable items such as soap, hand sanitizer, paper towels, wipes, diapers, and cleaning supplies. Consumable items, except for office supplies and or classroom supplies, such as crayons. Any equipment expenses costing $5,000 or more for a single item will not be allowed unless special permission prior to spending is granted. However, it's very difficult to gain this permission, so that's why we advise to stay under $5,000. In order to help guide you with creating budgets for expenses, a list of allowable and non-allowable expenses will be provided on our FAQ page, which will be accessible on the C4K website.
We will hold one more Q&A session tomorrow, February 24th at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will start a frequently asked questions page on the C4K website as well, and we will be posting this webinar recording at the shown link.
With that brief overview, please note that we will need to get started right away. Here's another look at the timeline. As you can see, getting starting on this as soon as possible would be ideal. We will now open up the floor to questions. You can ask them in the chat or go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, I have a question for you guys. When you guys were talking about the pre-inspection reports, who is, in a sense, qualified to do those pre-inspection reports?
That is a great question. Do we have anybody from DHHS on the call right now? Doesn't look like we do. Marty, did you want to answer?
I can certainly try, and please know that the answer is not in lieu of what DHHS would say with this. However, what our understanding from our partners at HHS is that any program that is looking to expand from a a family home 1 to a 2, or a family home 2 to a center, would need to have some documentation from their licensing specialist or fire marshal indicating the need for that and any expenses or construction that's needed to be done. So, for example, if you were wanting to expand from a family home 1 to a family home 2 and increase your capacity that way, you would need to have had some documentation from one of those two entities indicating that the construction was necessary in order for expansion. So that's a great question, and certainly encourage you to talk directly to your licensing specialist.
Okay, perfect. I just know that ours have kind of not really wanted to be doing those pre-inspections. They're like, once you're ready to go. And so that's why I just wanted to see, you know, it's difficult for our area to get a licensure person to come out sometimes. So I just wanted to see if there was going to be, you know, who is going to be responsible for that and if it was going to be feasible for some of the areas. So
Yeah, Laura, it's a great question and one that we're hearing is a bit of a barrier. So certainly encourage anybody that has that as a barrier to reach out to first their local licensing specialist and then their licensing supervisor as well, to make sure that we can either get that done or work with our partners to come up with solutions. So I'm glad you asked that.
okay, perfect. Thank you, Marty.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay, I do have another question. Sorry, you guys. When you were looking at the construction and the remodeling and, you know, all of that stuff, I know you said you guys are going to have an FAQ, but we have been in certain areas working with architectures. And so I just wasn't sure if that was something that potentially could be covered. And like I said, I know you said you have an FAQ sheet with some of that stuff coming, but I just was curious on that one.
So you're asking whether or not architecture fees will be included in that?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, yes, they absolutely can be with this fund. Yes.
Thank you, Noelle.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have any other questions about the capacity expansion? Okay, well, I want to thank you guys all for joining us. We'll also be having the same exact webinar tomorrow at 12 p.m. With Central Standard Time. And then we'll also post this recording on our website so that way then you guys can go back and look at it. And then we'll also be posting all of the proposals and your applications Monday by noon.
And we know this is a lot of information, so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll help you in any way that we can.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.